You're a TV host, and you're British. You came to California, and you've been covering California a lot. And you just recently wrote a book about California's failures, and you have some solutions. Can you tell us what you see in California when you started writing this book?
Well, the first thing I want to say is what I see in California is the best of America. That's how I think of California. It's an inspirational place. It inspired me before we even lived here. There's a line in my book which is, I think, very profound in terms of capturing how I think of California, which is California means to America what America means to the world. What I mean by that is if we think about all the great things about America, and you say I'm British, I'm actually American now, just for avoidance of doubt, I got my citizenship
Well, congratulations
a few
on
years
that.
ago. I'm very proud as an American, very proud Californian. But I think of California as representing the essence of America, the best things. When we think about what America means, that should be California. Innovation and energy and opportunity and ambition and hustle and the rebel spirit, all these things, that's California, or it should be. But I think that in recent years, that spirit has been crushed by bad policies and bad ideas. And that's why I wrote the book. It's called Califailure, Reversing the Ruin of America's Worst Run State. Because I think California, if you actually just look at the data, it is the worst run state in America. That sounds like a strong statement, maybe a little bit partisan, but if you actually look at the data on every measure that matters, we are the worst performing state in America. We have the highest rate of poverty, we have the highest taxes, the highest cost for housing, gas, electricity, water, every essential. We have the lowest income growth. Last year, 2024, for most of the year, we had the highest unemployment rate in America. Right now, it's number 2. I could go on. We have the worst business climate. That's insane. California, the worst business climate, the home of enterprise and innovation. Chief Executive Magazine, every year, they do a survey of which states are better or worse to do business in. California has been bottom of all 50 states for 10 years. So it's a total failure. I mean, there's more than that. I mean, we just go through every issue. And it's not that we're in the middle of the pack or, 41st out of 50. It's literally the worst on all of these measures. And so I wanted to try and explain why. How has this happened? How has this amazing place ended up performing so poorly? But not just to diagnose the problem, but to lay out a solution. So the book's called Califailure, but part 2 of the book is called Califuture. And that is a set of changes that we need to make that will restore the California dream and restore California to the glory that I know we all want, everyone who lives here, and not just everyone who lives here. I think everyone in America cares about California
And the
being
whole
successful.
world
The
as
whole
well.
world.
Like there's an element where people from Europe watch us because they want to know what's
100%.
going
It's
on.
an inspiration to the world. And as you mentioned, I've recently been known in America as a TV host, but prior to that, I've been an entrepreneur. And back in the day in the UK, I worked in politics and the government. I was senior advisor to Prime Minister David Cameron. I'm a policy guy. And so that's what's so frustrating to me, in a sense, is that all these problems that we have in California, the fact that 1/3 of Californians, according to a recent study, cannot meet their basic needs, food, shelter, it's terrible. But these are driven by bad policy. And so we've got to analyze the policy failures that led to this and then put forward a plan for turning things around. And that's what this book, Califailure, is all about.
When was the moment that you realized things are not going the direction they should be going in California?
Not so much in terms of the direction of the state, but there was a moment that I realized how much I cared about California. We moved here in 2012 with my family, and it was actually for work reasons, in the sense that my wife had a job in the Bay Area and she was traveling a lot, and when our second son was born, it became complicated, so we moved. But we didn't know at the time that it would be a permanent move. It was just for the time being to make it work from a family perspective. But then in 2016, I remember this so clearly, I went back to the UK to campaign for Brexit. That was the year of the Brexit referendum, which I felt very strongly about, and I'd advocated for leaving the EU for many years. So when that campaign came up, I went back and took part in it for a couple of weeks. And I remember so clearly landing back at San Francisco airport as the plane just was taxiing in, just looking out the window, and I just thought to myself, oh, it's so great to be home. And that I just, oh, that's interesting. This is home. That's how I think about it. And I do think of California as not just my literal home, where we're raising a family and I've started a business here and taught at Stanford University and now this new career in media, all those things. It's also, in a sense, spiritually my home. I feel so connected to the values and ideals and the spirit of California that's why I feel so strongly that we can't let it slide into this failure. It's not okay to let that happen. And so as the years went on and frankly, the problems got worse. I mean, by the way, when I was listing all those problems, we didn't even talk about the most visible problems. If you ask people around the country what's wrong with California, the ones they, because it's so much, so vivid, they talk about homelessness. Of course, we have the highest homelessness rate. We have 11% of the US population, 47% of the homeless population, crime, etc. And so as those problems were piling up and the reputation of California was being ruined, I just felt more and more drawn to, in a way, going back to what I used to do, which is not just talking about things. My media career is very late and unexpected, but actually working to solve problems, like I used to do back in the day in the UK as a policy guy in the government.
When you started doing that, what did you notice?
Well, there's two components to it. Very simply, the two parts of it are one-party rule combined with bad ideas. And those two things together prove to be a disaster. But you need both to make such a calamitous outcome, because let's just take the one-party rule. When you have one-party rule, which is what we've had in California with the Democrats controlling all statewide offices for nearly 20 years, both houses in the legislature, the cities, the counties, and the biggest, where the most population is in California, and so on, it breeds a kind of arrogance and complacency. And the politicians lose touch with the people. They're not paying attention to the needs of the people because they're worried about their internal politics, navigating the machine. They don't care. They assume that their party will be in power because of this one-party rule. They don't see a challenge coming from the other side. So it makes it less competitive. And that's unhealthy. It's unhealthy to have this lack of political balance.